the first big event, though, that I think we were talking about before Canelo even was Andre Ward. And Andre Ward has made a lot of statements in the past about how he wanted that fight and Gennady and you didn't want the fight for various reasons. So give me your version of events of how the Golovkin-Ward negotiations went, because that was a fight that we never got to see.
There was no negotiations. Andre somehow convinced or bamboozled or whatever with his fans that he sent an offer over. We got an email. So this is how it went. Triple G wanted to unify all the titles. He knew if he was going to prove that he's the best middleweight in the world, he had to fight other champions. So the first champion we were able to convince to get in the ring with him was David Lemieux, IBF champion. The reason why David Lemieux agreed is because he had a mandatory. The Golden Boy wasn't sure if he would beat his mandatory, so I figured let's do the unification fight. We'll get bigger money fighting Triple G. It was at Madison Square Garden. It was Triple G's first pay-per-view fight, first unification fight, first fight at the big arena. Actually, the second fight. He fought Daniel Geale at the big arena, but the first time. This was the second fight. So we announced that fight. I remember about 5 hours after we announced it, I get an email from Dave Itzkowitz from Rock Nation. Would you be interested in fighting Andre Ward? I can tell you the exact 50-50 fight, 50-50 split at 168 pounds. I'm like, Dave, we just announced the unification fight against David Lemieux. So when Andre said it took 15 minutes for me to turn down the offer, it's like, well, he really had a fight announced. So I don't know why Andre went so public with that. I think there was really, look, as an Olympic gold medalist from America, and Triple G was selling more tickets and bringing more fans and bringing more pay-per-views and HBO ratings, whatever it was, I think there was a lot of disgruntlement, I guess is the only way I can say it, why he went so public with it, because we had that fight, and then in the email, I said, if he wins the Lemieux fight and he's unified WBA IBF champion, then he wants to go after the WBC title, WBO title. That's all I said, and there would be really no reason. Ward never really brought a lot of money to the table. Like when he fought Arthur Abraham here at the StubHub Center down here. It was like a half-full arena. Triple G, his very first fight there against Marcos Rubio, we sold 9,000 tickets in a 7,000-seat arena. So when I said he would go to 168, it had to be a big fight. Chavez Jr. would have been a huge fight. Top Rank offered Chavez Jr. guarantee, I remember the numbers, $7 million guaranteed to fight Triple G. And if he lost, they would pay him another $5 million. So Chavez Jr. would have gotten $12 million to fight Triple G, and Triple G would have gotten like $3 million. But it would have been a huge name. I remember, what was the guy over in England, the 168-pounder? I don't know why. Carl Froch. Yeah. Carl Froch sold out Wembley Stadium against the other guy, Groves, 80,000 people. Said, okay, now if Triple G goes to the UK and fights Carl Froch, that's a huge fight. He would go to 168 for that, but his priority would be to stay at 160 pounds. So that was the whole thing. I don't know why there was so much bad blood there with Andre, and it'd be like Triple G saying to Floyd Mayweather, who fought at like 154 one time, well, we're going to make Mayweather an offer, and if he doesn't come to 160, then we're going to disparage Mayweather. That was never the case. I had made a lot of offers that got turned down. I never went public with them because it's like, okay, you don't want to fight him? That's fine. Let's go a different direction. And, unfortunately, Sergio Martinez, Felix Sturm, all those big names, Chavez Jr., Froch, whatever it was, we never got them in the ring. But to Mark Taffitt's credit at HBO, he said, look, Triple G is moving the needles. He's selling out arenas. He's getting high ratings. I remember the Curtis Stevens fight got a huge rating on HBO. It was regular HBO. It wasn't pay-per-view at the time. And so it's like, if these guys, and I showed internally, I showed the negotiations. This guy turned the fight down. This guy turned the fight down. This guy turned the fight down. Peter Nelson was going to say, let's make a T-shirt. It's like, I'll fight Triple G, just not next. That was the line. It's like, yeah, we'll fight him, but not in the next fight. Let's wait. And so,
did the Ward stuff ever get revisited after all the initial decline, or
no,
however
because
it worked out?
So then it was it was Lemieux, and then he was chasing He wanted to fight Sergio Martinez. Sergio Martinez got beat by Miguel Cotto.
Yep.
He was the mandatory in the Marco Rubio fight. He became the mandatory for the WBC. He was the interim champion, became the mandatory. So we agreed, instead of chasing Sergio Martinez, which we wanted to chase him, we said, okay, let him make the deal with Cotto. Cotto wins the title. Cotto's now WBC champion. Triple G's is mandatory. Cotto was represented, I forgot who it was, but I said, they're like, Cotto wanted to fight Canelo then, which was a huge fight. Puerto Rico versus Mexico, two big names. I didn't want to stand in the way of that. I said, okay, you can fight him, but just give us, just vacate the title, because it was mandated by the WBC that he fight him next. They didn't want to give up the title. They actually paid us a huge step-aside fee, which we got criticized for. We didn't want the step-aside fee. I was telling Mauricio, so we don't want the step-aside fee. You can keep offering more and more, the Cotto side. You can keep offering more. He just wants the title. He wanted to be the undisputed middleweight champion. So then we agreed. They paid a lot of money to Triple G to let the Cotto-Canelo fight continue, because Mauricio said, just let this fight happen. And then we actually had it signed. So then Canelo beats Cotto. Now Canelo was never really on our radar screen. He was a 154-pounder. He goes up to fight for the middleweight title. Now he's right there. Triple G's the mandatory for Canelo. We allow Canelo, without any step-aside fee, to fight Amir Khan. And the agreement was you get one title defense, and then you have to fight Triple G. It was signed by Golden Boy. It was signed by us. It was signed by the WBC. Mauricio was there. Our attorney was there. Everyone agreed. He knocks out Amir Khan. Now it's time to fight Canelo. So the Andre Ward situation was way in the back burner there, because Canelo was a much bigger fight. And so we go down that road, and then Canelo somehow decided he wasn't a 160-pounder. He goes back down to 154 to fight Liam Smith, vacates the 160-pound title. Now Triple G collects that title. So now he's got the IBF title, WBA title, WBC title. Now he wants to unify with the WBO title. So that's how the whole Canelo thing came up, because Canelo got a lot of grief from his Mexican fans, and Triple G had a lot of Mexican fans. And when Canelo vacated the title, it's like a Mexican champion does not vacate a WBC title. I think it was the first time in history that a champion from Mexico vacated the WBC title. And that caused him a lot of grief. So then there was a lot of bad blood then from the Canelo and Triple G side. We did that fight in 2017. We broke 1 million pay-per-view buys. We had the third highest record in Nevada boxing history. I think it was $27 million gate. So, Andre Ward at that point wasn't even a discussion, because then the other point that I have to remind people on is he had a lot of legal issues with his promoter, with Dan Goossen. He had a lot of injury issues. The only time that fight really could have happened was when Triple G, when people weren't trying to fight Triple G. Andre was going to fight here out in Ontario, and I had heard they offered Edwin Rodriguez $1 million. That was more than Triple G was getting at the time. $1 million for the Edwin Rodriguez fight. I said Triple G would fight him for $1 million at 168 at that time, and he had just come off the shoulder surgery, so they didn't want the Triple G fight at that time. So, for Andre to say, like, we turned down an offer, I think there's a lot of behind the scenes that the fans don't know about. That was the closest that we could have gotten to making a fight with Ward at 168. But then after that, once Triple G had the Canelo fights, and then he had that mandatory, then it just, then we had the Canelo rematch, and then we had the trilogy, and like all the fights after that were bigger than the fight. Then he went to Japan and fought Murata over there. That was a big fight in Tokyo. Sold out the Saitama Arena. So he was making history, sold out the O2 Arena against Kell Brook. I mean, all these things that he wanted to accomplish as a middleweight champion while still chasing Billy Joe Sanders for that WBO title, which he was never able to get.